Government to launch new study on the authenticity of Borobudur's chattra. And Bank Indonesia reveals 3 keys to Bali's economic growth. Stay tuned for details on these and other stories. Welcome to the latest news from Bali and Indonesia. This is September 17th and 18th, 2024, and my name is Bruce. Government to launch new study on the authenticity of Borobudur's chattra. The government intends to conduct further research to determine whether it's appropriate to build a chattra at the top of Borobudur Temple, following recent opposition from archaeologists, yay, my field, who doubt that the original temple had the umbrella-like structure. The decision is part of a 7-step plan to support installing chattra and was made at a meeting on September 11th by the Coordinating Minister of Maritime Affairs, Luhut, who also chairs the Advisory Council of the Borobudur Tourism Agency. The plan includes feasibility and cultural heritage impact assessments, as well as communication with all related stakeholders and consultation with international bodies such as UNESCO and the International Council on Monuments and Sites. He said, "We are targeting these measures to finish within a year to ensure that chattra is installed properly and in line with applicable regulations to meet the aspiration of Buddhists." This was said by Pak Sunanto, the spokesperson of the Religious Affairs Ministry. He added that the construction would not proceed without permission of the Education, Culture, Research, and Technology Advisory Council. The government initially planned to install the chattra at the top of Borobudur, a UNESCO World Heritage Site and the world's largest Buddhist temple. However, the plan was postponed due to strong opposition from archaeologists, who called for additional studies to determine if the temple originally featured the umbrella-like structure. In-depth archaeological research still needs to be done to prove whether the temple used to have a chattra, according to Marsis Sutopo, chairman of the Association of the Indonesian Archaeologists. Pak Marsis added that the certified cultural heritage preservation experts should oversee the structure's installation upon completion of a feasibility planning and heritage impact assessment to determine the authenticity. The latest commotion comes amid a debate over the historical existence of a chattra at the Borobudur's main Yasti stupa, which has been ongoing for more than a century since the temple's first restoration in 1907 to 1911 by Theodore van Erp, Dutch army engineer. He rebuilt a chatra for the temple's main stupa based on his analysis of the remaining stone blocks. But he later dismantled the structure over his doubt about whether the temple structure originally included a chatra, as archaeologists had not unearthed any stones indicating their original use in such a structure. According to Sunanto, researchers of the National Research and Innovation Agency used the same argument in pushing the government to postpone its plan to install a chatra by September 18th. Van Erp's reconstructed chatra is currently on display in a museum known as the Borobudur Museum, located near the temple within the Borobudur Archaeological Park. The latest plan to construct a chatra was drawn up in July 2023 during a ministerial coordination that included Pak Luhut from the Office of Coordinating Maritime Affairs and the Religious Affairs Ministry and the Tourism and Creative Economy Ministry, 3 experts on archaeology, I'm sure. Following the meeting, officials from the Religious Affairs Ministry visited the head Buddhism leader, who responded positively to the plan to build a chatra on top of the Borobudur temple. However, an ordained monk told the Jakarta Post that the chatra should only be installed if researchers and other relevant authorities found enough evidence to support its historical existence. If there's still controversy among experts and related parties about the structure, I think the plan should not be forced, he said. Billy Lukito Joswanto, who chairs the Advisory Council of the Young Buddhist Association of Indonesia, noted that chatra was part of the Mahayana tradition, one of the 3 branches of Buddhism, and the one on which Borobudur is founded. However, Billy noted that rushing the structure's installation at the historically significant temple would undermine the Buddhist principles of compassion and wisdom. If the structure were eventually built, he hoped it would foster harmony in the middle way among all participating parties, including archaeologists. Okay, and another segment on the economy and specifically on Bali's economy. BE reveals 3 keys to Bali's economic growth. BE, Bank of Indonesia, the Bali province, the head of the Bali province Bank of Indonesia, said that there are 3 keys to driving Bali's economic growth: strengthening tourism, encouraging sustainable agriculture, and digitalization. Blah. Based on BE data, Bali's economy in the second quarter of 2024 grew 5.36%. This figure is lower than the previous quarter, 5.98%. Bali's economic growth is higher than the national growth of 5.05%. Bali's economic growth ranks 7th out of the 34 provinces in Indonesia. I wonder what these 6 are that are higher than Bali. The password for Bali's economic growth is that we continue to strengthen tourism with quality tourism. There's that quality tourism again. We continue to synergize with the central government, local governments, and various associations that provide a lot of their best input for improving quality tourism, according to the bank official. According to him, so far the tourism sector is still the main driving force of the economy. It contributes about 45% to Bali's economic growth. And here is a number that is thrown around all the time, especially when people get upset, tourists get upset and think that they're not being given enough benefits or treated fairly, and say, well, if it wasn't for us, everybody would starve here, because 90% of Bali's economy is based on tourism. Now, here is a figure from the Bank of Indonesia which says 45%. And of course, that's for all of Bali. Here in Buleleng, it's much lower. And in some of the other areas, when I talked about the poverty rates, well, the places without tourism, more of the economy comes from things like farming and fishing up here in Buleleng, for example. Down in the south, obviously, a lot of the economy comes from tourism. According to Pak Irwin, the Bali provincial government, district, cities, governments, and ministries continue to strive to strengthen quality tourism in Bali. Later, the government plans to issue a presidential instruction on a moratorium in the context of organizing tourism areas. Then, related to tourism, there is also a good development that we, together with relevant ministries, are developing quality tourism indicators. Bank Indonesia also views that the role of tourism associations must be strengthened. This is so that they can mitigate risk and create quality tourism in Bali. Bank Indonesia also continues to strive to strengthen the agricultural sector in Bali with the aim of encouraging Bali's economic growth. One of them is coordinating with the Regional Inflation Control Team to maintain the readiness of food commodity needs, namely approaching religious holidays until the end of the year. I think to drive or improve the agricultural sector in Bali, there are 3 important keys for Bali in the future. First, to continue to increase the productivity of the agricultural sector. Second, encourage more sustainable and a continuous agriculture. And of course, create an agricultural ecosystem that is efficient. He hopes that there will be regulations to prevent land conversion so that agricultural land in Bali remains protected. The actual harvest area in 2023 decreased by 108,500 hectares. Before the pandemic, it was 111,000 hectares. That's in 2018. However, a good development is that rice productivity in Bali has increased. In 2023, rice productivity was 6.21 tons per hectare, and in 2018, it was 6.01 tons per hectare. Bank Indonesia also encourages the agricultural sector from the fisheries and horticultural sides, which are also Bali's strengths. Downstreaming in the agricultural sector is also a key factor. Bank Indonesia also continues to develop digitalization in Bali, said at that time. Among others, electronification in local government transactions for transparency purposes, more accountable government financial management, which leads to increased regional income. Then, he continued digitalization in the retail sector, one of which is through QRIS. So far, there are 1 million QRIS users. I'm not one. I need to get my kids to show me how to do it. Total transactions, 7.39 million. In total, the number of merchants using this, 850,000. So in the future, we see that the acceleration of QRIS must continue to be increased, considering that the concentration is still only in the big cities. And what about that fantastic LRT? They need money, money, money. Minister of Transportation claims South Korea and China ready to fund Bali LRT. The Minister of Transportation suggested the Bali provincial government invite more investors to finance the construction of the Bali urban subway integrated rail line, LRT. Pak Budi revealed that there are investors from South Korea and China who are ready to participate. So far, the Bali urban subway project has only been handled by two companies, PT Sarana Bali Dwipta Jaya and PT Bumi Indah Prima. Pak Budi said, I invite the regional government to invite as many investors as possible. Budi said that currently South Korea has invested and the plan is that China will also participate. He suggested that the Bali provincial government accept investment from the two countries. Korea has provided support in the form of loans here. I recommend that this opportunity be taken. Even China wants to help, he said. According to him, the subway project requires large funding. We know it's going to be over 20 billion US dollars. In addition, the Bali urban subway is a long-term project, so Budi considered that there would be no problem if the project was managed by the private sector. In addition, with many parties involved in managing the subway, it's hoped that the ticket price will be affordable. Budi emphasizes the Ministry of Transportation will continue to act as a regulator of ticket prices once things are working. He said, we plan to make visibility good. And Pak Budi said, don't forget, the project has integrated spatial design development, TOD. If not, he continued, there will be a problem in the operation of the Bali urban subway. It must be integrated. This means that the underground, the LRT underground, cannot be separated from the TOD. The TOD cannot be separated from the underground. If made separately, there will be problematic things in the future. So you're supposed to be able to, in the grand scheme of things, we're talking about 2031, you're supposed to be able to get off the LRT, come up into the sunlight, and get a bus or something that they said is going to look like a BMO. I don't know how that's going to work out. By 2031, we could have the zombie apocalypse here and we won't need any of this. Or we could have flying cars, or maybe all of us will evolve and be able to fly by ourselves. Who knows? This is Bali. Anything can happen. And what about Ubud? Ubud Market. Ubud Market returns to traditional atmosphere. After the fire disaster, Ubud Market has returned to its traditional feel. The affected traders were given stalls in the market yard, precisely on the west side of Pura Melenting. Each stall was fitted with a sponsored tent from Bank BPD. They've been doing a lot recently. Traders occupying the west block were quite lucky. They could still occupy their stalls and kiosks because the West Block Market building was not directly affected. When the fire broke out, West Block was only filled with smoke from the burning basement of the East Block. The building's still relatively usable. There are 986 traders in Ubud Market, consisting of 419 grocery traders who occupy the basement of the East Block that experienced the fire. A total of 567 art traders occupy the first and second floors of the East Block and the West Block. This is a temporary plan in order to sell in accordance with the proposal of traders during a meeting. From community leaders and those who are still selling on the sidewalk, they asked to open in the yard from 4 o'clock in the morning until maybe 8 o'clock, clear out, and then clean it up, and then the art market traders can come in. The traders' request was welcomed. There is no relocation budget yet in the overall budget. The Trade and Industry Agency has not been able to confirm the number of traders who will occupy the market yard. Some traders have already looked for alternative locations independently. Some have already sold in traditional markets not far from the Ubud Market. Badung Tourism Satpol PP personnel minimal, only 40 people, not yet able to perform maximum duty. The Tourism Civil Service Police Unit Satpol PP in the Regency was formed in 2023. You remember a lot of ballyhoo about that. Oh, we've got these and they're going to watch the tourists, make sure they're not doing naughty stuff, and also help with information if people need help, or watch and make sure that there are no criminal activities around bothering tourists. But its existence up to this point is not considered optimal. Badung Regency, which has a wide stretch of coastline and world tourism, only has 40 personnel. There are 8 people in the Mengwi district, 8 in North Kuta, 8 people in Kuta, and 8 more in South Kuta, and the rest are in the main post, another 8. The number of personnel is only 40, and priority member placement is in the coastal area. We rotate tasks, 2 people in the morning, 2 people in the afternoon, and the same the next day, because the stretch of the coast is quite wide, namely from Tanjung Benoa to Chamagi. According to him, the addition of personnel cannot yet be done because members are limited. He said, we must continue to prepare members outside the tourism Satpol PP. We want as many as 80. In addition, members of Satpol PP Badung have started to decrease because some have retired, some have been transferred, some have gone to work for other agencies. Initially, the number of employees was more than 400. However, now there's only 200 altogether. And facilities and infrastructure are also limited. For example, patrol motorcycles, they need 12 units, but they only have 3. We need motorcycles, not cars, to avoid congestion on congested roads. He reiterated, to run Satpol PP Perwisata optimally, the constraints are personnel, facilities, and infrastructure. We have submitted several times, but we were eliminated and asked to be patient. The 3 motorbikes they got from the BPD bank. He said, hopefully our plans will not be eliminated again in 2025. Not an unusual situation. Make some plans and then have difficulty carrying them out. And here's a worthwhile infrastructure project to make Bali more beautiful. Overcoming chaos. Badung rolls out aerial cable-free project. The overhead cable-free project in Badung Regency has begun. One of the drainage arrangement projects with the installation of pipes for cable lines is underway in the Mertasari Road area in Kerobokan. The arrangement project is one of the efforts of Badung Regency government's program to be bright without overhead cables, because Badung also has a regional regulation in 2016 concerning integrated utility networks. The overhead cables will be installed in pipes in the drainage area. This is going to take place over 5 years. A couple of videos ago, I talked about climbers that have been missing. Well, let's talk about the French teenager that's missing. Victim's family asked for continued search for French teenager climbing Mount Batukaru, still yielding no results. The disappearance of the French teenager, 14 years old, who got lost on Mount Batukaru is still a mystery. The Tabanan police, with a joint team, still searching for the missing victim. The search was resumed after a request from the victim's family. The last report on the search for the French national was on Monday, the 16th, yesterday. Until today, joint personnel have been conducting searches via the Macquarie route, which is about 790 meters above sea level, according to Pupuan Police Chief. He said the search process involves 46 people from Tabanan Police, Pupuan Police, and 2 other police stations as well. Also, there are 2 members of the K9 and the head of the Blimbing village, the head of the traditional village, and 4 guides from the village, and residents from the area as well. Unfortunately, the search process that started at 8 and ended at 4 o'clock yesterday afternoon had no results. The missing climber's mother also participated in the search, along with, as I said, residents from the local community. The search process involving many personnel is likely to be the last time. That's yesterday. Meanwhile, tomorrow the search will be carried out in the middle of the forest by residents. Later, if there are new clues, we will move again to search for the victims, he concluded. And a little bit of news on crime. Wow! It turns out that the Pink Palace that opened same-sex prostitution is owned by an Australian couple. The identity of the owner of the same-sex and bisexual prostitution business at the Pink Palace, aka Pink Palace Spa in Kerobokan, has been revealed. Okay, never heard of any of this. It turns out that the owners are a married couple from Australia. Information gathered by Radar Bali, the results of the temporary development carried out by the investigators from the Bali Police General Criminal Investigation Directorate, revealed that 4 people were arrested and that the owner of Pink Palace has a nominee status. The actual owner is a foreign citizen as the owner of the prostitution location under the guise of a spa. Okay, nominee is not acceptable, and having a place of prostitution is not, but of course there are places here. That the owners of the luxurious pink building located on Jalan Mertasari in Kerobokan are a married couple from Australia is a bit of a surprise. This was revealed from the statements of 4 people who were arrested after a raid on the Pink Palace. These 4 people are still being held for purposes of investigating the illegal practice. One man claims to be the owner and manager, and there are 3 beautiful women also in custody. The Australian couple's slime business used nominee. This couple's alias borrowed the name of an Indonesian citizen with the initials of WS. His entity acts as a shareholder or legal owner of the asset or entity, but actually acts on behalf of another party. And that's what nominee system does. And the nominee system was judged illegal years ago. Yes, the results of the temporary development, that is the suspicion. Regarding the identity of the real business owner, the head of public relations of the Bali police, Senior Commissioner Jansen, has not commented much, claiming that the raid is still underway. On process, concluded the Bali police spokesperson. And so that's an interesting one. And that is it for today. Thanks for viewing. Be kind to someone today. Stay safe. And I will see you next time, maybe tomorrow.